bleachers to sit here.
Oh, no, uncomfortable. We're gonna get started,
I'm not going to that one.
cause it's 7 and there's a lot of you here, which is wonderful. And if half of you wanna talk, we wanna make sure you guys get out at a reasonable hour so you can get home. So we're gonna start our meeting off with a Pledge of Allegiance, and we have 2 flags behind you, a tiny one and a big one. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if you have a cell phone on you, I'm sure most of you do, please put it on silent so we don't get interrupted. We're going to start with a roll call of the council.
Allie Orton,
Olivia Ryuta.
Bart Caldwell, Doug Felton.
Shirley Cole.
Great. So how many of you, is this your first council meeting? Nice.
Let's not make you do that.
Nice. So we welcome you. As we go through, there are some copies of the agenda. If there aren't enough, we ask that you would kindly share with your neighbor. We'll go through this agenda tonight. A couple of notes before we get started. So we are going to have a discussion tonight about the recent burglaries in West Riverside. But there's lots of opportunities for public comment throughout. We ask if you have public comment about it, that you have that conversation when we're talking about it, ideally not at the end. So be aware of that. We also ask, we have a lot of folks, if somebody has said exactly what you wanted to say, please absolutely say your piece, but just be cognizant of time. Our bylaws say 2 to 3 minutes, but we just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak their piece and say what they came here to say, because we appreciate you being here, because there's a lot of other places you could be tonight instead of here. So with that, we will get started. So we're going to start with the approval of our December 11th regular meeting minutes.
I move that we approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll move that we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So public comment for items not on the agenda. Yep.
I would like to find out if there's some way that we can get some sort of volunteers together to plow the Hillsfield Trail. A lot of us use it. I use it every day. Some people ski on it, I'm seeing now. And when it gets to the point where it's crusty and deep, you almost have to go out and walk on the highway, which is never a good thing. And sometimes it gets plowed by locals, but I think there needs to be something in place to see that when we get these big dumps of snow, somebody's out there doing this.
And I know that from our trail discussions that we've had about the Bonner Streetcar Trail connecting us to East Missoula, I know that Missoula County Parks and Trails has this past year they've had a limited fund to do some trail maintenance. And so what we can do is we can add that to the discussion items, and we can reach out to Parks and Trails. Because I know that they will be plowing a handful of times, but we can get an update and see if in fact that's all still, if that's happening. So we can start with that update to see if that's gonna happen. And then go from there, but we can add that to a discussion item for sure.
Okay, and along with that, when the county does plow the streets, a lot of times they'll plow big berms right over the trails, which makes them completely impassable now. Some of those,
Sidewalks.
yeah, some of those are 3+ feet high.
Thank you. Other public comment? Items not on the agenda. And for folks who are just coming in, we have a sign-in sheet, so we'll pass that around. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to move forward with a new plow and stuff. I do that a lot of part-time, if someone wants to make up a schedule or something.
Well, I think that one goes down by here. Somebody tried to do that, and I see about right by Jimmy Milligan's house, they stopped. I don't think they could it got too heavy for them, and I don't think they could go any farther, so.
We're plowing, putting on with a combination plow, they do a V plow or wing plow or whatever, so you can think I can get through it. I ain't plowing your house.
Other public comments for items not on the agenda? Announcements? Is there stuff, events, local events coming up?
I got a couple of little things. After the last meeting, but before Christmas, we got, the council got Christmas cards from Chris Newman, Fire Chief, and from Morrison Mailer Insurance. Yay.
Morrison and Merrily are the engineers
Okay.
who,
Well, they put a card out, it looks like an insurance card.
Morrison and Merrily provided a bunch of in-kind donations of their engineering time when we submitted the trail grant to do that. So, okay. Any other announcements? Okay, so we're gonna head into what I think you're all here probably to talk about, the recent burglaries in West Riverside. But I wanna make sure if there's folks who need a chair, we can find some more chairs, and then if you haven't signed it.
There's two right here.
And there's two back there.
Here.
So get comfortable, and then, I'm not sure who is here, do you wanna introduce our
We
guest?
got a guy standing up, turning around right
Yeah,
there.
so I can have that chair there.
Welcome.
Captain Dave Conway.
So this issue has come up at the last couple of council meetings, thanks to those of you who brought this up and keep updating the council. We're excited to have Captain Dave Conway from the Missoula County Sheriff's Department to join us, to give us an update and maybe help us think through some ways that we can begin to address this problem.
Well, as you said, my name's Dave Conway. I'm the captain of detectives for the sheriff's office. First, I want to say thanks for having us come here. It's very important to me and to the sheriff that we take every opportunity to inform you guys of the things that we are doing. Most frequently, you guys don't really get to hear about what we are doing and the things that we are trying to accomplish and the prevention that we do make. So any chance that we can to tell you what we're up to and what we're doing, we're glad to do it. So, as you all know, there have been a rash of burglaries, a rash of property crimes. Over the last several months, we've grouped together about 40 in this area, which is a significant number. And Detective Sunderland, who I'm going to introduce in a moment here, has been assigned to all of those cases. He's pin mapped all of them, and he's worked diligently to look for common ties between all of them. Now, we know that they probably aren't all the same group, but a large chunk of them, a large percentage, we were hoping are the same group that he can ultimately identify. And to that goal, he has been successful. And he's grouped 19 of them together that were responsible by two people who he's about to charge. Now, they're juveniles, and it's still an ongoing investigation, so I can't give you a lot of details beyond that about it. I know you probably have a lot of questions, but I am bound by some confidentiality laws. So I want you to know that we are out there doing something. We did solve at least those 19. Now, that doesn't end. There's still several more, and that number continues to grow. So he's continuing to work those cases and look for common ties for the other ones, but they're difficult when they're just sporadic and they're not tied together. Also, he's continuing to look very hard for all of your property to get back, and that's a big task because now it's scattered across Missoula, and some of it we know out of state. So he's going to continue to work towards trying to retrieve your property and get it back to its rightful owners. It's important to us that you guys feel safe in your homes. To that end, he's put a lot of work and a lot of effort into this. As well, hopefully many of you have seen extra patrol cars out, because we have had extra patrols and extra cars out. And hopefully what you haven't seen is our extra unmarked cars out in the middle of the night. So, for the last couple of weeks, we have had guys out at night in unmarked cars and in plain clothes, patrolling and prowling in areas. If the weather was a little better, we'd have them on bicycles or on foot, but they're kind of confined to a car right now. So we're doing a lot towards that end, but we need your help. Some of the things that we need your help with is making sure you secure your stuff. Over the years, I have found that thieves will often just prowl streets and look for open doors and look for unlocked cars. If your car's unlocked and your stuff's in it, and a thief comes by, it is easy pickings for them, as well as your garages and your outbuildings and your homes themselves. Secure those things, and it's the low-hanging fruit. So if something's easy for them to get, they're a lot more likely to take it. If you can make it a little more difficult for them to get, maybe they're a lot less likely to take it. A lot of those cases that we've identified have been from unsecured houses, unsecured buildings, unsecured cars. So another big thing that you can do is try to get some surveillance equipment. I know that some of you have, and that has helped tremendously. It's fairly cheap these days to buy surveillance cameras. One of the cases that we had, a person used an app called Alfred X Cameras, which is really cool, and we've experimented with it some ourselves. The way this works, if you have an old smartphone, doesn't need to have service, doesn't need to have anything, you just hook it to the Wi-Fi in your house, plug it in, and then link it with your phone that you currently carry. And it's motion sensitive. If anything moves in front of it, it sends that video to your phone that you're carrying in your pocket, and then also records it. That is Alfred X Camera. It's a free downloadable app, doesn't cost you anything. All you gotta have is an old phone and a new phone that you currently use. So it seems to work pretty slick. I'm not a salesman for them. In fact, it's free, so it'll be a point. What can I answer for you guys? Yes, ma'am.
So where were these 40 burglaries? Which area? Just out here or in Missoula?
No, in the Bonner.
Bonner, Milltown?
Yeah,
On the evening of December 13th, they hit from First Street that we know of to 9th in what, a 2-hour time frame? Something along those lines?
They hit from Fontaine tonight, is essentially it.
Yeah, and so it was, we've got them on my cameras. On my camera, they started at her car, went to his, went to the neighbors, were able to get into cars, and
Was that the video that was on Facebook?
That would be mine.
from 6th Street.
So I'm on the corner of 6th and West Riverside, and I have cameras that go facing down our alley to West Riverside, on West Riverside, and pretty much half of 6th.
So that was the guy in the hoodie that somebody thought tipped you off? I mean, did he see?
No, I think he was pulling his hood on.
Oh, okay. Because
So
somebody.
because of that video,
Yeah.
I was able to get a confession.
I have 8 cameras on
So-
the outside of my house.
Even though you couldn't like,
You have the better file of it.
well, but even
No.
though you couldn't like really see, fine detail and stuff, but it was enough that the guilty parties were like, oh my God, that's me, yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, you understand videos aren't foolproof because they wear hoodies and things
Exactly.
don't happen. And it's kind of shaded, but it's a huge step in the right direction.
But we've got, how many cameras, how many houses in West Riverside have cameras now?
So we got 1 on 1st, 2 on 2nd, 3 on 2nd now. 1 on,
So that was
Third.
in West Riverside?
yeah, 1 on
Okay. I don't
3rd.
know my streets very well.
I believe 5th, somebody on 5th has it. I have it on 6th, and I believe the 7th and the 9th Street have it. But we haven't confirmed the 7th and 9th yet. We don't know the people yet. It's just hearsay.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Have there been any like the pill spill over by the fire station in that area and all that you're aware of? Nothing out that
just
far?
here in East Missoula.
East Missoula and West Riverside?
Yes, sir.
Well, I heard that there was a large camp of transient persons on the, it would be the Harris Thermal property, kind of across from the mill, about 2/3 of the way up from the Black Ridge. And I don't know if that's something the sheriff's been aware of. I heard it from a reputable source, and I don't know myself whether that camp is still there or whether it was there earlier, but it would make sense to me. The camp was described as one with a lot of illegal activity going on with drugs and alcohol, and it seemed to me like it would make a lot of sense for that kind of a nest of fairly large camp to be a source of people, because I couldn't ever figure out why that neighborhood was targeted. But if that transient camp was there, then it would make more sense. So I don't know if you guys have found out anything about that, or if that's,
You know, I did get that email. We haven't been to that camp yet. I know where there are a couple around, and we do routinely go and run them off because they're trespassing and enforce any crimes that we can while we're doing it. The problem is traditionally they come right back as soon as we leave, and it's just kind of an ongoing cycle. We have a couple of transient camps that all around Missoula that are problems that are fairly large, and when we run them off, and then in a week it's back just like it was again because they have to go somewhere, I suppose.
and when, there ought to be a way to prevent them from reestablishing their camp, but I don't know what that would be.
I don't know what it would be
You
either.
probably have wondered about that too.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be either. Obviously, we couldn't just post someone there indefinitely.
Yeah.
It's hard enough for us to put together the manpower to get to do the things that we're doing and to get to go run them off. But
You hate to have just ordinary people going down there checking these camps because it's not always safe.
you know, it's not always safe. They can be very violent.
And we do see more camps, you know, all the time, especially in the nicer months of the year. You know, it's hardly a day goes by or you don't see a guy with a backpack coming off the bus.
And then the amount of trash that we've seen in the last year is horrendous.
Yeah.
It's awful.
And you know, I wonder, I'm sure you've all seen it, when you're getting on the exit or when you're getting on I-90 coming from here going towards Missoula on the left side, there's a tree. Underneath that tree is a mound of trash. You know, I'm sure nobody wants to, you know, whose responsibility is that to clean that?
Well, that's a good question. Depends on who actually owns the property.
The state.
It's
I reported it to the health department and nothing got done about it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we all see it and it doesn't make us look any better.
Right. It's kind of like the one under
Property
the Street
values.
Bridge. I mean, that's huge with hundreds of people there. And once a year we do a roundup and run them out there, sometimes twice a year, but in a week we're right back.
Yeah.
We have a transient problem there in Missoula in general.
And we, I think within the past year, there was some work done with some folks from the Poverello Center on hotspotting and the resources that the POV has. And what we can do is find those notes. There were some resources that were created and sent around as part of an earlier conversation, but we can make sure that folks have those so that you can understand what in particular the Poverello Center can do when you are reporting if there is hot spotting and kind of the role that they can help play because that is their role in the community. And they're a resource that we should be taking advantage of. And we can remind this resource exists, but I just don't have it on me. But we can bring that.
You know, and a strange intricacy of that, you know, I wouldn't mind volunteering to help remove the garbage, but I'm not particularly interested in getting hepatitis or other things like that, or rustling around in human feces and things of that nature. You know,
It's not a fun job.
no. You know,
I can tell you firsthand.
how can we take our, you know, desire to be helpful and get some assistance with that?
Let me throw something in. There are several people here that we don't know that haven't been here before. If you would give your name as you start talking, we'd appreciate it. So we can get into the notes and keep track. And your name.
My name is Rob. I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
Rob.
Yeah, 2nd Street.
Is there anyone else that I can answer a question for? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Ken Pierce. I think one of their bigger problems is if they get a free bus ride out here and they drop them off and they don't have anything else to do, so they sit around and wait for dark and then they start wandering the neighborhood. So I know it's nice to have a free bus ride, but I think that they should also police those people a little because they are out there doing their dirty little thing.
Yep. And our patrol officers are generally pretty good, especially late in the evening at night when they see transients, to just stop and FI. And that's what we call a field interview. We stop and ask them their name, ask them what they're up to. They're free to go. They don't have to talk to us.
No.
But just by the nature of having that contact, that usually deters them from trying to do anything. What's a little tougher is juveniles, is some of the kids that are out there at night. So,
And so if, with them being juveniles, will their parents be held any responsibility in regards to all of this too?
If they have parents.
Get,
Good point.
if the parents have anything to get, yeah.
and what more, I mean, cameras, letting you guys, but as a community, what more can we do? I mean, this is impressive. I don't think we've ever had a council meeting this big. But, you know, what more can we do as a community? Getting to know our neighbors. I mean, by the time we had, you know, the officers show up, we had talked to everybody in the neighborhood and everybody knew what was going on that morning. And when the officers showed up, you know, everybody was ready to talk, but.
And that's great. And that's exactly what you need to do, is get to know your neighbors and look out for your neighbors and know when your neighbors are home and when they're not at home so that you can watch out for their stuff. That is what makes a community, right? It's neighbors. And it sounds like you guys are doing that as best you can. If everybody would follow that, I think the world would be a better place.
So real quick, just on what you were asking, when I talk to, you know, people that I suspect are committing crimes or whatever, and they admit to it or whatever, I just ask them, why? You know? I'm like, teach me. Why do you do this? How do you do it? Whatever. And in most cases, in this instance, in this community, it was a crime of opportunity. And they're like, it's nothing to walk down the road, check a car, see if it's open. They'll open the door, they'll walk away, they'll watch, make sure nobody's running out of their house, and they walk back and they take everything that's in the car. So really, the way to prevent this is just, honestly, don't keep your valuables in the vehicles and lock them up. You know, locks and glass keep the honest people out, right? So don't make it easy for these folks, because if you make it easy, like the captain said, they're gonna take advantage of it and they're gonna make you a victim.
I think lately though that they've been overstepping that easy line because, you know, you're parked in your driveway, our stuff's paintballed, you know, all the way down. People have stuff on porches, they're actually coming up onto the porches
Yeah,
now.
looking through your windows.
I think it seems like the more they get away with, the farther they're gonna go.
Yeah.
And it is, I understand it probably is juveniles and.
And it's gonna turn out bad for them.
That's the scariest
They walk
part.
into someone's house.
My main concern though is, so I've been out here 6 years now. Our first year here, we had a set of mud paddle tires stolen right out of the back of our truck. They cut the thing that they were tied up with, unloaded them, and they were gone. We have them on camera. Nobody, you know, they didn't get caught or anything, but we've had cameras since then and we've caught so much stuff, but nobody's been caught. So I think that we're doing what we can by keeping our stuff locked up, by having cameras set up. I know having extra patrols is helpful, but honestly, the farthest I've ever gone is by blasting these videos on Facebook and people saying, I know who that is. And, you know, but like as a community, I would like to know if anybody else, you know, if something happens to them, I'm more than willing to sit in front of my camera and look. If you have a time frame, I'll look. But like you said, having that video is helpful. So I think with everybody keeping their stuff locked up, if we're gonna start catching these people, get a camera.
And quite frankly, putting it down on Facebook and having somebody else just happen to see it and come forward is what made the case for us on that particular one. So.
Because they saw it on Facebook. They saw themselves on Facebook.
And they were like,
Oh, we're good.
yeah, yeah.
So what's the process if somebody thinks their stuff was stolen, or they're sure their stuff was stolen, for reaching out to the, now how does somebody report, and then if somebody has a video, do we, you know, we just emailing video, or we linking to Facebook, like what's the best process for that?
To call 911 and a deputy will respond and take the report. Oftentimes with videos, you're not going to have it available to hand to them on a thumb drive or a CD at that point. So ultimately a detective will be assigned and then you can email it to them.
So what we did in this case was, she made the report I said, hey, I got video of it. She told me her video. I got mine. She posted it on that crime page. We have a crime page on Facebook we created.
So it's
Crime Report.
Crime Report Missoula and surrounding. So if you have Facebook and you are from this community, yes, we have a few people from the Missoula community, but for the most part, it is part of this community. And that is where people were, I mean, there were videos galore being posted on there during that time frame. Or people saying, hey, wait a minute, my car was broken in on 5th Street, or
my car was stolen, you know, so I'm looking to see if I can catch them driving.
so that everybody kind of has a time frame and knows, okay, let's look at our cameras. And there's a network of cameras out there.
We basically just camera hopped all the way down. Okay, what time did you get them? Okay, I'm 1 street away. I got them 5 minutes later. Like, that's what we did all night with camera hops. So if anybody, obviously report it first.
Yes.
That's the most important thing. Get a case number and report it first. But I mean, I know a lot of people comment out of context, you know, or they make assumptions that's totally gonna drive people the other way, but I don't know to look at my cameras unless somebody says something or if our stuff has been tampered with.
Yeah, make sure to get that report number too.
Yes.
That way when you call into the office to speak to me or Mike or somebody, we have something to look it up by.
What's it called again on Facebook?
Crime Report.
Yes, ma'am.
I know one thing would help you guys if you've got something, get a serial number off of it. Mark it down in a book or something.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. I'm glad you reminded me. I'm glad you reminded me. So.
Because I had a brand new steel chainsaw stole right up here at Chaffee Lane.
Right.
Out of the garage.
Right, so.
That's the first thing he asked me if I had a serial number.
Yeah. For years, I've been suggesting to folks to make a home inventory.
Yep.
Anything you have that's of value to you that has a serial number, write it down, take a picture of it. Get that serial number, give us a good description of it. Because with that, we enter a program that we now have called Leads Online. All the pawn shops in the city and the ones that are in the county that want to are associated with Leads Online. So basically, we can run serial numbers. They can run the serial numbers, and anything that's pawned and stolen, of course, they had to get an ID when it was pawned, and we can track it, and we solve a lot of cases that way. Unfortunately, most folks don't have serial numbers on their stuff. So it's a good idea to have a home inventory and have that saved somewhere safe. Complete pictures if you can, especially on firearms and things of real high value. And have serial numbers. Document all of that, photograph all of that, and keep that up to date.
And engrave your name on it if you can.
You can. Is that the Leads Online case? Is it just today you recovered a firearm from 5 years ago that was stolen? So, yes, sir.
So that's a great point. I wasn't aware of that. So if we have shared photographs with your department about stolen merchandise, can we assume that it's been shared with the local pawn shops through this Leads Online?
To some degree. So the pawn shops in the county aren't required to do it. The city has ordinance that they do. So some of the pawn shops in the county access Leads Online, some don't. So we do the best that we can with what we have. There are some shops that they could go to that wouldn't.
Sometimes what we do is we will do an email blast out to the pawn shops in the county. Hey, just be aware, look for this. And, you know, a couple times now it's worked out.
Jewelry is a big thing to take pictures of because there's no serial number. Right? I mean, and lots of jewelry gets pawned at pawn shops, so take good photos.
So you'd recommend still go, if you're really concerned about it, still go to the pawn shops and show the pictures and things like that.
Especially the county ones. Yes, ma'am.
What can we do as a group of people to contact, say, the county commissioners, or to make all pawn shops in the county on this system?
At some point, we are going to ask the commissioners for a county ordinance to require it. There is pushback from those pawn shops because it does cost them money to buy the system and be part of it. So they're not overly excited about it, plus it can hurt their business. If they take something in on pawn and then we come to them and go, hey, that was stolen, they're out for money because we take it from them.
That's the change. So is it a Missoula ordinance then?
It would be, Missoula City has one, the county does not. So yes, at some point we are going to be asking the commissioners for a county ordinance requiring them to do that, and we would sure appreciate support
Timeline on that before you ask?
within the year.
If 80 signatures or something, I'm sure everybody.
Yeah.
Any other questions I can answer for you folks?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is it correct that of the persons that have been apprehended, most of them are juveniles from the local area, or do you know that, or?
For the 19 that we looped together, out of this 40 some odd, they were juveniles. It was
Really?
juveniles.
Huh.
Yeah. Now, obviously, all of those cases aren't related, but other ones may be related in groups of 2s and 3s. So this is not all kids, but a large chunk of it was. Anyone else?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
One more thing. I'm sure you guys have improved your work through the years, but I had a snow machine stolen at it was about 2000, and I went through filling out the report and everything, and when the officer left, he said, well, if you find out who stole this, let us know. And I said, aren't you looking for it? And he says, no, we don't have the manpower to look for it. So I kind of lost a lot of faith in the sheriff's department about that time.
Sure.
I'm sure the things are improving.
Well, I can appreciate that, and as I'm sure you can also appreciate that there are just only so many of us.
Right.
And crime has risen a lot, especially since 2000. And the amount of persons crimes, violent crimes that we investigate now, the rapes and the assaults and even the homicides have gone through the roof. And they take an enormous amount of our time.
Sure.
So anything you can do to help us, like these folks have done, we'd really appreciate it, and it will go a long way towards getting justice.
Do you recognize citizen arrest?
Booby traps.
Anyone else?
I'm just curious, what's the rules and regulations if you do catch somebody in your garage? Turn and watch them walk away from what I'm feeling is kind of what you want to do, or you're gonna be the one, the victim.
Well, that's very situationally specific. You could get hurt, or you could hurt someone else. And is your stuff really worth you getting hurt or someone else getting hurt? I mean, we all remember a few years ago of Grant Creek, right? And I was there and helped investigate that case, and it was not a good thing. So,
in other words, just duck bullets and call 911, or?
No.
Bullets are hard to duck.
Well, it's just an analogy of what I'm going for. It's, you know, I don't know.
It's so situational.
How can you stop yourself if you see somebody either in your house or something? I don't think I can stop myself.
You have the right to protect yourself and your property, and nobody's going to take that away from you. But you have to be reasonable in your ability to do that, and your objective to do that. And you also have to weigh out what you're really trying to protect. Is it you? Is it your family? Or is it a video game?
And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe a few months ago, there was actually a gun stolen in this area.
We frequently have guns stolen.
And so it's floating.
Yeah, we frequently have guns stolen. It would not be unusual to see a burglar armed.
There was one 4 years ago for sure.
The last night, yesterday, just over in Washington, the cops responded to a burglary, just what we're talking about. Pursued the guy, and one of the officers was killed.
So, just to clarify the point that was being made over here, you catch somebody going through your car in your driveway,
Walk away, call 911.
is that the same as somebody in your house?
No, it's not the same.
No.
No.
But your ability to defend that, is that the same, or, we kind of need to know these things.
Right. The key to all of it is reasonableness. Right? Be reasonable. If
But
someone's
what's the
breaking,
law say?
if
What's the
someone's
law
breaking,
say?
it says to be reasonable. If someone, I'm trying to simplify it for you. If someone's breaking into your house, and you believe that you or your family's in danger, you certainly have the right to protect yourself, and you should. If someone is
force, right?
If that's what's necessary, then that's what's necessary.
But if they're
that's
out-
what's reasonable under the totality of the circumstances, is what the law says, then yes. The totality of the circumstances takes into account your objective and their objective. So if they're trying to steal a cassette player, probably not reasonable to shoot them, right?
You don't know what their objective is.
Yeah, you don't know that in the split second.
What do you have in your car? Who are they gonna hurt in your car? You know it's empty, right? You know there's nobody in it. Now, it's different if somebody's in it, of course.
Yeah.
But if it's just a car sitting out on the street, just walk away, call 911.
It depends, just kneecap them, sit straight.
There you go.
Legal?
Right. I wouldn't suggest that either.
If there's a
but-
burn down process and somebody were to call 911, I mean, that obviously is elevated.
And the deputies are gonna be driving those fast Dodge Chargers at 140 miles an hour.
And you guys
to
do
get
come
there.
fast, thank you.
Yes. I think it was less than 45 minutes by the time I had 3 officers that morning, so thank you very much.
Yeah, they drive incredibly fast. We're trying to slow them down all the time, but
Dodge SUVs don't do 140 though.
no, they only do about 120. Yes, ma'am.
If you have your property posted, no trespassing, and fenced, and say you have animals that are attack animals, and someone comes across your fence, and the animal does its job, do they have a recourse since they were the one coming on my property and my dog?
Civilly, they may. Civilly, they might. Criminally, no. I have dogs.
Civilly,
Nobody's
that's
coming
the
nowhere near my cars. But civilly, I might have to face that someday.
But having it posted, does that give you any?
You know, that's a civil question for a civil attorney that I'm just not.
So, kind of like what the whole synopsis is, they have more rights than we have, actually.
In certain cases possible.
Yeah.
In civil.
Yeah, in civil cases possible.
But you can't drag them across into your yard.
You can't drag the body into your.
No, you can't.
Before we get into too many hypotheticals, is there any more questions that I can answer directly related to what we're?
So other than,
Yes, sir.
Deputies actually patrol out here.
Well, there's 53 deputies. At any given time, you can count on 4 is the shift minimum. Maybe 5, maybe 6.
Out here.
No, in all of Missoula County, all 2,600 square miles.
Yes.
There's just not very many of us.
That's clear to Sealy Lake too.
Clear to Condon.
Yeah.
Yep, clear to Condon, all the way to Alberton, Beavertail Hill, and almost Florence. And we're duly elected in the sheriff's office at the corner. So we're doing all death investigations throughout the entire county with that same number of people, including the city.
Do you still have a resident deputy in City Lake?
Currently, we have only 1.
so other than keep our stuff locked up and if you can afford cameras, $89 on eBay for 4, just saying. I mean, that's all we can do really, is keep our stuff locked up and have cameras and communicate as a community. Because it works.
I think
It worked.
It worked. 2 people that did a long span of burglaries on the 13th. I'm assuming, or those are the 2 you're talking about, on the 13th?
Yep.
So it did work. They're being charged.
But I think it's really important that you understand kind of the process.
Mhm.
Because what happens a lot of times is people get frustrated with us because they don't think that it's getting solved quick enough. Prime example, you know, let's take your video for example. You know, you put the video out there, all of a sudden everybody's going, oh, that's so-and-so, oh, that's so-and-so, oh, that's so-and-so. And at the end of our investigation, it was nobody that was mentioned in your
Right.
video.
Mhm.
So video's good, but just because somebody says, hey, it's Joe Smith, we have to do our job to make sure that it's truly Joe Smith. And if it's not, then we gotta keep moving until we identify, the true suspect. So that guy, and then that takes a little bit of time. And it's, here we are, and of course, we don't get real vocal about it because, we wanna make sure that things get done right and that there's, some justice in the end. So, as long as you kind of understand that there is a process and it doesn't happen, really quick unless you catch them in the act, I think people won't get so upset.
What are the factors that decide which videos get posted on the county Facebook page? Because I see a lot of, can you ID me? This dude stole $10 worth of windshield wipers. And then we have all these break-ins out here, and a handful of us have videos and not one of them gets on there. It's just kind of like what we
I don't know what
post.
that process is.
Who decides that? What's the deciding factor in that? Do they just kind of
I wish I could give you some sort of formula or sheet that we use to decide, but there's not. If you have a video that you think would benefit from that, tell us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the more appropriate question. Is there a contact, that we could have and say, hey, there's more videos available. We noticed these haven't been updated.
Yeah, there is, and back to the report number thing. So when the deputy first responds and gives you that report number, then you can call the sheriff's office and say, hey, I'm calling reference this report number, and you want to speak to the detective who's been assigned, whoever that may be, and then you will get to the right person. But it's having that report number that's going to be key for you.
Thank you.
I think,
Another question as a follow-up to that, I wonder if you've had some communication with a detective and that crime gets solved, can you expect to be notified about that?
Eventually, that's going to happen through the county attorney's office.
At the conclusion, probably.
Yeah, more towards the conclusion, but not all the way at the end.
Were you asking if there's a contact to get a video posted on Facebook?
Yes.
On the county.
On the county
Is that the detective, whoever people are working with, or is that going to be a different person?
Well, they would be the one to facilitate it.
Okay.
That person, the person that would actually do it is our PIO or whoever's standing in for the PIO at the time. But the detective who's assigned the case would be the one to facilitate.
Okay.
has anybody contacted the media to ever have them play the video? One of the news agencies, I think if they started seeing that in this area, we're gonna video people and it's gonna be played on TV and you're gonna get caught, that might keep people from coming out here. I don't know.
We actually just had a lady here.
Yeah, maybe she'll do a story about it.
Way to put her on the spot.
I don't want to tie up all of your guys' night. Do you have another question?
So, actually, I want to thank you guys for coming. I took the opportunity to notice that there was 121 emails that I could voice the concerns of the community, and got great response. So sorry to clog up everybody's emails. But I want to thank you, the extra patrols, your hard work. I mean, working on, Officer Sutherland and Rasmussen. Everybody has just been absolutely wonderful. I apologize that my email sounded frustrated.
I think we were all.
But I think that was where we were. It wasn't towards officers in general. It was just the situation and the fact that we felt violated. And so that came across probably rather horribly in my email, so I do want to apologize, but I want to thank you guys very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us, and we get it. We completely get it. When you've been violated, it hurts, and it hurts deep, and it makes you angry. And we want to make you guys feel safe. That's our job. That's what we're here to do. That's what we come to work for every day. And so, any way we can do that, we're glad to.
Any final questions? I'll make sure.
I want to make one comment, and it goes along with what she just said. We've had contact with the Sheriff's Department here a number of times, and every time we've had somebody at this meeting. And we appreciate that response. And it helps give a feeling to the community that, you guys care. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Have a good night.
So that's a good segue, all of those kind words of thanks, into our next agenda item, which is our bouquet period, where we thank people and organizations who've gone above and beyond in the community. Gary?
So before that, I would like to find out how everybody found out about this meeting, because this is a wonderful turnout. It's what the council has always hoped would happen. Did you guys get it by email, or was it the email announcement from the council? Kathy, did you do this? So that's a important thing to remember. Anytime you want a turnout, just ask Kathy.
It was the crime page, it was people sharing it off of the crime page, and it was that email. And so, we had a neighborhood party this last weekend, so I invited everybody there too.
We got to know our neighbors.
Actually, I think going off of this, I think this is an amazing turnout.
Yeah.
But I think we need to build on this from month to month. We need to have like a potluck, a get together, something I've said this numerous times, but this is the biggest crowd. Something so that you have an opportunity, you know, I find out that you live a block away from me and I don't know who you are. I would love that opportunity. So if everybody's on board, my name is Kathy. I am on Facebook. You know, let's plan, ladies.
Just the ladies, huh?
No.
Kathy, for what it's worth, every topic that we have at the community meetings can't go on the crime page.
That is true. Unless Elaine goes crazy.
Someone has another comment?
We learned from Dan, we went to the meeting about the new mobile home park up at the
Griles.
Griles.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come to another meeting. I've only gotten like one postcard that you guys were meeting and I couldn't come, and so then I never knew, so he told me that when the next meeting was.
Put your email address on the
Okay,
card, you'll get a letter.
all right.
You'll get an email.
Email.
We only, we
I don't need a letter.
we don't mail that much, just
Yeah, like
Postcards cost money.
postcards, yeah. Okay, so make sure that you're signed up, and if you have an email, it's on there, and then you'll get an email every month that,
Absolutely.
when the meeting is and kind of the special guests and the topics that we're gonna discuss. Each meeting, we have, sometimes we don't have guest speakers, usually we do, we have a specific topic. If not, we have a lot of, standing discussion items that we revisit each time. And there's always time for public comment. Okay, so can we move into the bouquet period? Do you have a bouquet?
Yeah, I'd like to give a bouquet to everybody that thought it was more important to come to a council meeting than it was to watch the collegiate national championship game.
Any other bouquets? Okay, so public comment, another opportunity?
Does anybody have any feelings on the pros and cons on the mobile home park? The new
I
one?
haven't even heard about it, which is surprising. What is it?
Well, the mobile home park, Bob Gryle put in for it
2000.
7 years ago.
2000.
And it's just across from,
It's where the cows are?
It's on
no,
Tamarack.
just past
Tamarack.
Tamarack Lane, where the piles of dirt are.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Along there, there's a 13-acre spot. He's gonna put 25 trailers in there.
So those are storage.
All double and triple wide trailers. They'll be pretty much permanent, like the one they built
Kinda
over
like the
here
55
by the
one.
dam.
Yeah.
Since they're living right there, the people that were there, these two were there, and myself and some other guy, I think they're gonna do, at least my opinion was, they're gonna do a good job. I shouldn't say this very well. It doesn't really affect me since I live down this way.
Yeah.
The golf course won't like it as well. That's what you're trying to say?
The golf course will never see it.
Well, we have nice I mean, not that they're not nice homes, but we have big homes that are hidden back behind, it's George Neff's old property, I understand.
Yeah.
Right? And there's 5 1-acre lots back there with houses, and so you always wonder, is that gonna drop my property value if, when the realtor's bringing somebody out, they pass by a 25 home trailer park and then turn into my street. And I'm from Arkansas, and if there were trailers around my house in Arkansas, I'd be a lot more upset than I am in Montana, because I've learned the culture here a lot better. And you know, we don't know how to feel. We don't know if it's going to affect our property value across the street or not. But when I bought my house a year ago, I was told, because the new brewery was out here and the big music venue was out here, that Missoula was going to start growing this way. And I was led to believe they would be growing houses this way. Trailer parks. So I don't know. I think a lot of our fears were kind of quelched, you know, because of what, who was the main guy that was talking to us?
Well,
Right.
Bob Grau was
Bob.
there, and,
There were 3 of them there, weren't there?
Yes.
3 brothers?
yeah, Bob and Tom were there. And then there was, Territorial Land Works
Right.
was there, the Planning Commission, Planning Board. So, when they put in for this quite a number of years ago, it was all approved. They just haven't done it. And so they're more or less revisiting it. And it's, the way they have it laid out, it's down below like the highway level. And so pretty much on your side of the road and from the highway, you won't even see them.
Behind all those pine trees and everything.
Because all the trees and everything are, because that's one question I asked Bob specifically, was if they were gonna cut down any of those trees, and he said no.
He said they'd leave as many as they can.
Right.
So will it require planning board approval? Or is it, I mean, is it a done deal and it's part of the public process? Or does
Part of the public process. The sewer and the water was approved a long time ago. They put in a couple of wells. And they're gonna have to have fire suppression stuff, but this is just the starting of the planning process.
He said there would be more planning meetings, and it'll be
Right.
posted up there if you see it on the highway, that the county will post it. So if you're interested in coming, but it kind of just goes to the fact of, you know, he made a comment in the beginning that houses aren't like our community. That's just not our community. And I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. It just depends on what do you want your community to be. You know, he said we'll never be the country club. Those houses won't come out here, but you know, it's just, there's pros and cons to it. I don't think it'll affect the property value. I'm not against it, but I do have a degree in journalism, so I like to leave both sides open. That's why I asked about the news, if they've been contacted, you know,
So I have a quick question. So I'm not familiar with building trailer parks, but this brings up sewer, so they already have sewer
They have it,
issues?
and it'll just be an enclosed system within those 25 trailers.
Okay,
And
because I know that's another touchy subject out here.
That might be one reason that the city's not coming out here for a long time.
yeah.
so Andrew, do you want to just introduce yourself and say who you are? And
Yeah,
can you keep us informed in this loop?
Yeah, I'm Andrew. I work for the planning office. I have nothing to do with this application. I probably just learned more. in the planning office. I do know that they actually haven't submitted anything to our office yet, so they're in their planning stages privately.
Okay.
They do have to hold a community meeting, I believe, and that was fulfilling that objective when they met on site. So the next thing they'll do is actually submit a full application to the office, and I'll find out if it goes to planning board and let you know.
Okay, because there's an opportunity for public comment on that
Yeah,
application.
yeah, I don't know what the process is all about.
Okay, great.
But he said there would be several planning meetings and comment periods on that.
Well, first you have to see what he's gonna put in and how he's gonna put stuff in. 'Cause my concern was, he had all these meetings about the sewer out there. And he's got 8 trailers over there, there's about 3 or 4 houses that he owns in that area. So how come the county doesn't make him put in something that all of that could be connected to the sewer piece that he's putting in? It's all on his property, he's got plenty of room to connect everything else. The 8 trailers that's sitting there, it's on the left-hand side as you go into town. There's no reason why he can't put these stuff in, to put them trailers and their homes onto that sewer system that he's gonna put in. That's something that the community should be looking into. You had a big discussion on doing something with the sewer out there and the water. Well, that's just adding more to the problem.
But he said the county won't allow him to put anything else onto, he said for 13 acres, he's limited to 26 trailers on one sewer system. But maybe it's just the type that he wants, sewer system.
And
He's got a lot more acreage there with the mobile
Oh, that's
homes that
true.
are already there.
Right.
There's probably 2 trailers on 1 septic tank. So why can't they be put into the sewer system that he's putting in? I would think they could. All he has to do is put a bigger tank for more capacity.
So I
He's
think,
got the land out there.
But if those 8 trailers are already on legal septic systems with separation from the tank, from the wellhead to the drain fields, then there's no legal reason for him to do anything about it, anything further.
Until they start breaking down. They've been there since 1968.
Yeah.
so I think that I think that that's a question as we learn about where the process is going, and if, I know there's ongoing discussion about the future of water and sewer and what that looks like. I think that that's a question that you all should ask. We don't know the answers.
Yeah.
But I think that, we can add a discussion item to future meetings where we can give an update next month about this, which I think
Well,
could be
until you
helpful.
see the plans of what he's gonna do, it isn't gonna be anything to call the county. The county, nobody will know what he has planned. He just told us verbally, told the people what he had planned on doing. I can,
Well, once there is writing, we'll know and then we'll be able to share it.
yeah.
Okay.
And the mobile homes that'll go in there can be up to 10 years old. But he said that they inspect them and make sure that they're not dilapidated, so that they're nicer looking homes. And I think that may be why they want to rent instead of selling their property, because then they keep more control over it and they can ask people to move out if they don't keep up their property, so.
Most of those homes are gonna be almost new, mostly because of plumbing and stuff, because they're responsible for all that. And so if the plumbing starts coming apart, then they have to go in and fix them. And they don't wanna do that.
If anyone's curious about it, they own, if anybody knows where Newcastle is, it's a bunch of modular homes. He owns that. And if you go through there, it's very well kept park, very well kept. The roads are plowed, he plows the roads, people have to take care of their own lots, so he would improve big mounds of dirt sitting out there. It's just, depends on how he's gonna do it.
He's got the equipment.
Oh, okay.
Well, when we know, you guys will know.
Yeah.
Other public comment? Okay, communications.
Already did it.
Perfect.
That's all we had.
Treasurer's report.
We have $1,384.08 in our bank account after a check goes through that I wrote to the post office for our P.O. box. $52 1 year.
Nice. we don't have any action items this evening, so we'll move on to our discussion items. So the two items on our discussion, the first is the noise created by the computer server fans at the mill site. And at the last meeting, there was a handful of folks who showed up. We had a good conversation, and there was a request to have a meeting dedicated to that conversation. And so we're having a special meeting next month on February 5th, the first Monday, not the second Monday. The reason being that the county commissioners are all out of town at a conference the following week. And they've all been invited to attend, and we hope that they will. And so, they will, great. So we created some little poster things. The other thing that was brought up at the meeting was a desire to be able to share the information and post something up. And so we went ahead and put something together so that you all can bring this down your street, go to your potluck, and invite your neighbors. So the meeting we think might need to be in the bigger room. So we're confirming that.
If all of you people come.
Right? There might be a few more. So the folks who've been invited are county commissioners. We've invited, by we, this is not all of my work, this is themed group of folks up here. The local area legislators who represent those who are in areas that are impacted. Also representatives from the mill and hopefully from Project Spokane, which is the company that runs the operation, and then also a wildlife biologist or two. And also we're reaching out to the East Missoula Community Council folks because some of those areas that are impacted are actually in their jurisdiction. So we've been having this conversation, it's been on the discussion, we get updates, and it became clear last month that we really needed to just kind of have everybody in a room and understand kind of who's impacted and where, and what's the scope of the impact in our community. And then understand there's been a lot of work underway to try to understand and address the issue. So where is that work happening? And then what can we do as a community to mitigate the problem, to come up with some solutions, but certainly create space so folks can, people have a lot of strong feelings. And so we just need to be able to have a space so folks can share those feelings. What seems to happen is every month we get a new group of folks. And so I think it's gonna be helpful so that folks can come to a meeting specifically about it and get an update. And then we can go from there and decide what next steps are.
Can I say something about the posters really quick?
Yes, please.
So the posters that are being passed around, take a handful of them and post them somewhere that you think people in your community will see them. We don't have the capacity, the five of us, to really go out and hang posters places. So if you go to Albertsons and you think that's a good spot to post one of these, or you go to the town pump or to the River City Grill or the post office, take one of these posters and hang it up, so that it gets the visibility that you think it needs.
Looks like there's still at least 20 of them
Yep.
left over.
Take them all.
And so, and just to be, so, I mean, as the Monroe Milltown Community Council, right, this is an issue that keeps coming up in our community, and we meet each month and want to create space so that we can have a discussion and figure out, are there ways that you all can understand what the process is, get your questions answered, and then how can we move forward and what are those solutions? And so we are excited. I think that all of our brains are smarter than just one, and so I feel like we're gonna have a good discussion next month. It's gonna be, I anticipate, a busy meeting. So that's something to look forward to, certainly. But, so that's just the kind of background that we wanted to share. I don't know do you wanna add to that?
Yeah, I do. I just want to say, Steve has been here month after month after month,
Yes, he has.
giving us updates as to what was going on, keeping the community informed. We very much appreciate this, and the special meeting is not saying that you haven't been helpful.
Sure.
Okay?
Did you want to explain who Steve is to the people that?
No, that's just Steve. Steve's going, no. I get accused of throwing Steve under the bus from time to time, so keep him anonymous. No, he's Steve Nelson. He is one of the owners of Bonner Mill. He and Mike, and they are. I think some of the more responsible business owners that I've run into in years, okay? They want to be part of the community, they want to be part of the solutions to our issues. And I personally don't like Steve a whole lot, but that I do appreciate his being here time after time after time.
And taking the abuse.
And taking the abuse with a smile on his face most of the time. Yes, ma'am.
So with Steve's taking the abuse, I just want to reiterate that a lot of us are taking a lot more abuse with the noise, which has gotten louder.
That's the reason.
And with the mid-range supposedly at 15%, that's not gonna cut it. So please, everybody come for that special meeting so we can really figure out what's going on. Besides, quote, supposedly a payoff, first time I ever heard of that.
What payoff? Never heard that one.
Well, I just heard it tonight in this meeting, so.
Is there any discussion on this tonight, or are we doing it on February?
So we're gonna do it on February. I mean, one of the challenges that we run into every meeting is that we actually don't make decisions.
Right.
You'll be shocked to know. I mean, we make decisions and set the agenda, but I think our goal is to have a conversation with folks in the room who we have elected, who are decision makers, and I think who can provide input on where we stand and what we might be able to do. And so, I feel like if folks there is time for public comment at this space. I would say what we really want to do is make sure that we're having that conversation in the room with our elected officials, with kind of everybody there, so that we're having one conversation, because we've had this conversation multiple times throughout over the past year. So that would be our suggestion. That would be our suggestion. I think it is a more productive conversation. And our goal is to have a more productive conversation as a community. Next.
And Rob.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not a fan of the noise. It is pervasive, and you can hear it 2/3 of the way up the mountain. If we're gonna have any traction on that, we have to be able to measure that and document those kinds of things. But that's not my point right now. I wonder, I'd like to know, to put it in context, when the mill was running, when there were 3 shifts at the mill, I'm sure it was loud too. So how does this noise compare to that noise?
Steady hum.
I've lived here from '73, and the mill was really quite loud, because that planer just screamed, and so you could hear that a long ways away. This is actually nothing compared to what the main mill was.
You know what, I feel,
Well, I don't live right, but I'm living in the same place I was. I'm just comparing that.
you know, I feel like the mill used to be, you'd hear the steam going off, and it would be, okay, you'd hear that, then you wouldn't hear that, it's like having a buzz in your ear, constantly. So, when you have something in your ear 24 hours a day, it's pretty damn old, it gets real old. When you're laying in bed and you hear that, it's not fun.
Yeah, so that might be something to consider, while we are concerned about the bats and the other things that might be affected, wildlife that might be affected by the noise. I'm sure there are some medical and psychological issues to be addressed. So maybe a health professional wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. I've lived here my whole life, and I lived right across the street from the main entrance of the mill. And I gotta be quite frank with you, that noise does not bother me. I can say the same for the train that screeches by the front door of my house 7 times a night. I chose to live here. If I don't want to listen to the noise, it's up to me to move. In my opinion, that is an industrial area. And those people over there are providing jobs, and they're dumping tax money into this community.
And that's great, but why can't it be mitigated? Why can't that noise be reduced? Is there, there's ways to reduce it, right?
Is there? Has that been
I've heard that
researched?
people can put water coolers on computers.
So
And that's what it's all about. It's about cooling it off. So there are ways to mitigate it. It's not like, oh, we have to live with it because we have to.
But why is this issue taking so long? I've heard that this has been going on for, a couple of years now? This noise or whatever?
No.
So it's been less than a year. So, and I will say, so the goal of next month's meeting isn't, you know, do we say yay to the mill or do we say nay to the mill? I mean, I think it's how can we have, is there a way to mitigate it? And for folks, and there are a lot of folks who feel very impacted, right? So for folks who don't feel impacted, I'm not impacted, I'm thankful, that's great. But for folks who are impacted, is there a solution where everybody can get at least a little bit of what they
Well,
need?
I do hear it. I'm down here on this campus on a very regular basis, and I hear a hum. And I guess maybe I don't understand what you guys are hearing up in a canyon.
Well, we hear it at our house too.
But what I hear, I mean, to me, it's not disruptive because of the noise I've lived with out here.
You know what, it sounds like an airplane on a runway waiting to take off, like, and we're ready to go, but we never go. You know what? And I'm all for jobs too. I'd be the first one to say, hey, we've needed good paying jobs in Missoula and Bonner forever, and I'm not against that at all, but you know what? There's gotta be a way to mitigate it, you know?
Is there a legal limit for sound or for decibels?
Yeah, these are all things that'll be.
This is next month's meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just, cause, and next month's meeting, well, I mean, we're not the experts, right, let's be clear. And we will have the information from the experts and update on all the stuff that's been happening, because there's lots of stuff that's been happening. Steve, do you wanna add to any of that?
Well, I'll just, a couple of comments. No, there's no decibel level that's required by zoning. So it could be whatever it is. It doesn't, according to zoning. But we realize that this is an issue, and we respect the community. But it's just not simple to solve, and you're right. There is a way to mitigate it. There probably is a way to mitigate it, but you got to balance that with cost and you know, what's really feasible. And part of the problem is, just to give you a little background, somebody asked, we need to determine what the noise levels are. We know what the noise levels are. If you've been to any of the meetings, we've told you. We know, clear up the canyon, what the decibel level is. We know what it is over on West Riverside. We know what it is. We've done a study. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars doing studies. We've probably spent $10,000, $15,000 so far. So then once we determined that, we determined that the fans, the blades, the most inexpensive way to solve the problem would be to replace blades. Well, so we went to a couple of fan companies that do this kind of stuff in the Midwest, and they've provided us with some 9-blade fans, different shapes, that sort of thing. Well, we thought and that was supposed to reduce the sound level significantly, according to the sound engineer. So we brought them out and we put them, we installed some inside, and you know, just visibly and from a hearing standpoint, you could tell that there was less noise. So then we went up on the roof. Well, we installed some fans, or we took one of the fans off, and you don't just go, it isn't just like changing the fan in a fan. I mean, you got to take the curb off the roof, you got to take the fan out, you got to put it in. It's a major deal. So we did that. And of course, when we did that, then because this new fan blade runs a little lower speed, well, it doesn't open the clamshells that keeps all the rain and snow out. So there's not enough suction or enough pressure. So now we got to figure out, we're back to the drawing board a little bit. So, you know, and I hope by February 5th, but then getting up on the roof, and you know what the weather's been like. Anybody want to volunteer to go up there, they're welcome to. But it's not safe, so you can't do that. So we're trying to do this, and I truly believe that there is a way to solve the problem and make it significantly better. And we intend to do that. But it's going to be expensive and it's going to take some time. And I know everybody's impatient about it, and I apologize, I appreciate that. But the fact of the matter is, this company that's there they're not doing anything in violation. Everything has been done according to what the county's rules are. And so, but now they're willing, and so are we as landowners and landlords, we're willing to try to solve the problem. And I wish it could happen quicker. I really, truly do. And I apologize. I wish there was something we could do about it. But we could go change all those fan blades like we thought about doing, and then we'd have the same problem and just spend a couple $100,000. So What we're trying to do is figure out the best way to do it. We're not stalling, we're not being mean about it, we're not being poo-hoo, we don't care about you. We do care about you people, because we're part of this. This is our community too. It's a big deal to us, and we want people happy. I mean, we got 40 homes right here that we own, we care about, and our people that live in them care about them. So anyway, we're gonna try, and I hope on February 5th, we're gonna have all this big dog and pony deal going on. We may not have any answers. It may be the same answer I'm telling you right now, but we're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna get it solved, and we're gonna make it so that it's better. So.
And I mean, we appreciate you coming to council meetings. I
Yep.
think one of the challenges has been, is that there's an update here, there's an update there, which is great for those of you who are able to be here each month. But we haven't had a dedicated meeting to have the conversation.
Right.
And so we can, it might not be fixed by February 5th. There'll be a good to-do list coming out of that meeting. We can continue to update the community and for folks to be part of that process. And so we're not guaranteeing fixing by any, right? We want folks to come to learn about what has happened, to kind of be able to talk about the impact on themselves and their homes and their quality of life. And then we want to have a conversation about, what can we do to mitigate it and move forward, and what does the future look like? And so that is the goal of the meeting, for us to finally have us all in the same place at the same time. But we appreciate it.
And we're gonna find a solution. We're gonna find something that makes it better. And what that is, I don't know. I thought it was these new fan blades. No, I'm not so sure it is. But there is technology that will solve this, and so we will figure it out. And I promise you that. I don't like it. I don't like coming here and everybody looking at me like I'm the bad guy, I don't like it at all. So, anyway.
I tried to keep you anonymous.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And we've had this big discussion about, everything going on in the West Riverside area. And what's gonna happen, if we don't come to some resolution on this, is the people who are in the core of this community are gonna say, we're done, and we're gonna be leaving.
Yeah.
And whatever's gonna replace us is either gonna be, I don't know, and I would hate to see that happen, because a lot of us have lived here for a long, long time, and our heart and soul has been put in this community, and I just feel like people are to the point now where it's, we're done. So I know you guys have been working on the big community vision, and hopefully that's exactly what we all have in mind.
So 7 p.m., Monday, February 5th, in this building. We're gonna make sure we have enough space. We're gonna create a Facebook event, and so you can say you're gonna attend that Facebook event, share it with all your friends. Please post these up. Let us know if you need an electronic copy, if you want to make more, if you want to print some off on your own, we have those as well. Any other comments before?
I think most everybody here's got my email. If you need more copies, let me know. I'll send you an electronic version. You can print it and give it out.
Okay. Well, it will be, you won't want to miss it. So the second discussion item we have is the Missoula County's efforts to update the county land use map. I assume we don't have an update on that. It's still earlier.
We're gonna be. We have a technical committee that's helping us right now, made up of a pretty diverse array of community members, and we have a meeting coming up on Thursday, and that will be a really important meeting, because we're going to be talking about the next step in our process. And so the next step is when we start going out to engage the public on what we want to do with the land use map. So we're hoping to specifically engage the community here, and maybe do some sort of open house, workshop, something like that, in February or March. Really kind of March. Maybe in March. And no later than March, but we gotta do it in March then. And because we really want to talk specifically about what you guys want for land use in the future in your area here. So we promised that we would give you some special attention because this is it's not necessarily a county-wide land use map update, but it's community-wide. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Missoula County has adopted a land use map. It's a policy guiding document. It's sort of a visual representation of your what you want your community to be in the future and what your policies are. And it guides different types of land use decisions like the trailer park to some extent. That was in 1975. So it hasn't been updated since, at least for your area. So we have got a document guiding for what the future of Missoula County is for this area from 1975. So it's not really a guiding document in that respect anymore. So we want to update it. And we've been working kind of behind the scenes on a technical document for a while, and it's now time to start asking people for land use in the area in the future.
So, you know, I mean, I think that's good. But a lot of things have happened since 1975, despite the map. So how's the map going to affect the future?
So the map is used for certain types of decisions. It's a guiding document, so it doesn't have regulatory powers. So it's not, you can do something in contrast, a landowner could do something in contrast to the map. But it might, you have quite a bit of the area is zoned out here, so it might, you might be able to say, well, you know, this is zoned this way now, but we'd rather see it zoned this way in the future. Might affect that. It might affect a subdivision proposal and things like that. So it's not doesn't catch everything. Just it's another tool in the toolbox for you guys.
Sure. Are those data available?
Well,
spatial data.
The existing map's out there right now. It's on our website, and then we're working on a little bit more technical document.
But I make maps myself.
Okay.
And if I didn't want to just look at the map, but I wanted to see the data behind it, would that be available?
I think you could. It's not, you know, because it was created in 1975. It was just sort of digitized, and so it's just
update.
like. Oh, when it's updated, yeah, you'll be able to acquire it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're, public comment, we're back again. Okay, agenda items, it says for November, apologies.
We're planning ahead.
Yeah, don't come back till November. Let's talk about both February and March. So we've had some other requests for February. I think we keep that meeting as focused as possible. And so that we would look to March to have you guys come out.
Yeah, and we might do a special, not like a normal community council meeting, but kind of like we did for the vision, like a workshop on a different night, and planning staff would help organize that and put that on, and you all put it off.
If you could bring information about that to the February meeting, I think you'll have increased attendance.
Okay.
The other request we got for the March, for our February meeting, and I said potentially March, was from Deborah Bell from Missoula Public Works to talk about some GIS tools for the community to be able to have access to.
So this might be related to building permit? I think there's a lot
It
of
has to
questions
do with
about
building permits,
building permits?
but it's to demonstrate a tool that the county has that will be useful so that you all can have better understanding of what's happening around you. And so I tentatively suggested March, so unless there's anybody sees a problem with that, we can confirm with Deborah for March. Okay. So, okay, that sounds good. Sounds like a full February meeting. And then we'll continue to fill up March as we go from there. Public comment.
We already have that.
What?
We've already had that.
I know. Okay, next meeting, you won't want to miss it, February 5th, here at Bonner School. It's a Monday, it's the first Monday in February. And please spread the word in your communities. We're looking forward to the conversation. Okay, well, that's it.
You want to adjourn?
Sure. I moved to adjourn.
And I second.
All in favor? Oh, yes.
Hi, Gary.
Lucky you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Well, I'm Bob and Mitch Hunter's daughter.